Welcome to another episode of the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. This week, the Honorable Chief Secretary Orville London is the one addressing the media.
Let me first start by referring to yesterday's funeral where Edward Hernandez was laid to rest, and I want to join the rest of the island and the country to pay tribute to a multi-talented genius. I think Edward Hernandez is known. He was teacher, artist, curator, historian. Quite interestingly, I majored in history, but I think that Edward Hernandez taught me more about Tobago history than I would have learned during my entire career. But I think what I also admired about him is that with all his talents, he remained a very simple man, always committed to community work and to the development of people. And I want to, on behalf of all of Tobago, express our sincerest condolences, but also to share in the pride that his family and his friends must have had in knowing an individual of this stature. We must bear in mind that we also lost in recent months two other cultural icons, Rudell Clark and Louis Kimi. And the Tobago House of Assembly will be paying fitting tribute to those individuals. I also want to take the opportunity to express condolences to the family of Teacher Virgie, a 97-year-old stalwart who contributed significantly in the field of education and community development. And all I could say is that I hope that the examples set by these outstanding individuals would, of course, be followed by as many of us as possible. I was at Executive Council this afternoon, and I got the assurance from the Secretary of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport that all the schools in Tobago were open yesterday. The Lambo Anglican School was opened on Tuesday, and the Bon Accord and Blackrock Primary Schools were opened yesterday. I must say that the division did a tremendous job. The $18 million, I think, was well spent, and we have already been getting kudos from the various principals and members of staff at the level of improvement. Yes, we do have challenges in meeting the deadlines, but I want people to appreciate what is really achieved in the 6 to 8 weeks during which this construction work takes place. In the case of Lambo, for example, it was an entire wing that was put on, and in the case of Bon Accord, there was significant infrastructural work, reconstruction work there because that facility was in a very, very bad condition. Goodwood Secondary School, again, complete classroom was added. So that I want to pay tribute to the Tobago contractors. All of these contractors were Tobago contractors, local contractors, using Tobago labor. And many times we had individuals working 16, 18 hours a day in order to achieve the objectives. And the fact that the majority of the deadlines would have been met because there was work done on every single secondary and primary school in Tobago, every single one. The scope of the work will have varied from school to school, but some work was done on every primary school and every secondary school in Tobago. And I must compliment the Tobago contractors, or even if there might have been 1 or 2 cases where the contractor was not from Tobago, then the workmen were from Tobago, and they should in fact be complimented. Monday is budget day, and there's expectation all around. And the Tobago House of Assembly, like everybody else, will have its expectations. We don't know what the budgetary allocation will be to Tobago. And obviously, whatever the budgetary allocation is, I suspect that it will not be enough to carry out the responsibilities which the Tobago House of Assembly has. So that when we listen to the debate on Monday, our focus is not just going to be on the monetary allocation, but our focus will also be on the signals coming from the Minister of Finance with respect to the type of opportunities that he will be providing to the Tobago House of Assembly to access funding or to get involved in arrangements that will enable us to be able to provide ourselves with the resources. The question of the Tobago's ability to borrow, we hope and expect that the Minister will address that. Of the Tobago House of Assembly's authority to get involved in public-private partnerships, we hope that the Minister of Finance will address that. And we are also expecting that there'll be some indication as to how we treat with our housing solutions in Tobago. I have spoken about it at previous sessions, but I just wish to reiterate that we have in Tobago at this point in time a backlog of 6,000 applicants for housing solutions. At the rate at which we receive funding, we receive on an average of $20 million a year, which can provide maybe about 30 houses. And obviously, if something is not done to address that and to place us in a situation where we can either access funding or maybe better still getting involved with the kind of arrangements that have now become commonplace in Trinidad, where you can actually have developers coming in and treating with providing the financing and the construction and so on, and then you treat with the assembly comes in and treats with the distribution and the repayments. I think that kind of arrangement is also necessary. So we are hoping and we are expecting that the minister, with whom we have met twice, normally we meet the ministers once just before the budget in what I consider to be the arithmetic exercise. We were quite fortunate to be able to meet with the minister early, about a month ago, where we were able to explain and to justify our requests. And then we met with him again last week, where we again reiterated some of the issues which are of concern to us. We are aware that the minister will have his constraints. Obviously, he'll have to meet or try to meet the demands of numerous stakeholders. But we are expecting, as I said, that either we get the requisite funding or opportunities are provided for us to access the resources necessary to keep Tobago on its developmental plan. I just wish to repeat that all of us as Tobagonians must understand that if Tobago's development is to be accelerated at a pace with which we are comfortable, there has to be significant investment in specific areas. And if we do not get a significant increase in our developmental budget, then all we will end up doing is just simply meeting immediate demand and not being in a position to really jumpstart the economy in a manner that will be with which we will be comfortable. I want Tobagonians also to recognize that the budget for them is not only about what happens with the Tobago House of Assembly. There are areas that should be of interest to all of us. In fact, the entire budget should be of interest to all of us as nationals. And I urge the people of Tobago to listen very carefully, see what is happening with respect to property tax, see what is happening with respect to this social security net, see what is happening with respect to the utilization of our energy resources, see what signals are being sent with respect to the energy resources of Tobago. Because we want Tobagonians to be involved in a competition, not the competitions, the conversation. And that said, I would just like to announce that after the budget is going to be on Monday, that is Monday the 9th, so that on Thursday, that should be, I think, Thursday and Friday, I think it's the 18th and 19th or 19th and 20th. Anyhow, the next week, Thursday and Friday, the entire assembly will go into retreat on the Thursday, where the secretaries would be looking at the various allocations and reallocating the funding and assigning the funding to what would be considered priority projects. As you know, when the Tobago House of Assembly prepares its budget, it prepares its budget in a vacuum, and therefore the real budgetary exercise really starts when we know what the allocation is likely to be. And in those circumstances, we will obviously have to readjust our budgetary expectations and the expectations of the people of Tobago. So we'll give the divisions about a week or so to look at the new allocations and to make the necessary adjustments, meet and synergize our efforts. So on the Thursday, the secretaries will meet. We'll be joined by the administrators and the budget analysts, or the what they call them, the budget analysts, or the name slips me now. But anyhow, on the Friday, and after that exercise, we'll then be in a position to treat with the projections and, of course, the kind of predictable outcomes and the promises and the pledges which we can make to the people of Tobago, so that when we have our plenary session the next Thursday, we'll be in a position where the Secretary of Finance can make a report as to what could be the expectations of the people of Tobago with respect to the allocations to the Tobago House of Assembly in the budget. So that basically is the situation. And then, of course, we will continue with additional discussions. We will involve the public in various ways, whether it is by using the media, whether it is by panel discussions, community meetings, etc., to get the public involved in the conversation. And that is why I'm urging all Tobagonians to listen to the budget, get the comments, and be in a position to contribute to the exercise. Now, as I mentioned the last time I was here, I met with the Prime Minister, and then based on that, and let me give you the sequence. I met with the Prime Minister on the 14th of June, where I raised a number of issues, including the issue of internal self-government for Tobago, Tobago's representation on boards, and similar matters. I then wrote to her on the 29th of July, referring to the issues and drawing special attention to the issue of internal self-government and the Tobago House of Assembly's representation on boards. I received a letter of acknowledgement on the 26th of August, which is about a month after my letter and 2 months after the meeting. And the letter reads as follows. It comes from the Acting Secretary to the Prime Minister. The Honorable Kamala Prasad Biseta, Prime Minister, directed me to acknowledge receipt of the letter dated July the 29th, 2013, with respect to the above subject. And the above subject is confirmation of issues raised at the meeting with the Prime Minister and the Chief Secretary on June the 14th, 2013. Please be advised that consideration is being given with respect to matters raised. Thank you for conveying same to the Chief Secretary. This was written to my secretary to be conveyed to me. So that more than 2 months after the matters were raised initially, and more than a month after my letter was written, I received an acknowledgement indicating that consideration is being given. Now, this is obviously quite frustrating, but quite informative. Because I must get from that sequence of events a clear indication that the priorities of the Tobago House of Assembly and the people of Tobago are not the priorities of the Prime Minister and the central government. And I want to make a comparison that the Prime Minister, without consultation and without any prompting from any organization or individual or any group of people, now has a bill before the Parliament to change the Constitution to introduce an element of proportional representation into local government. And the Prime Minister will expect the House to maybe approve that within a matter of days. And yet an issue that has been in the public domain for more than 5 years, which has engaged the attention of the people of Tobago for more than 5 years, and of course, which I have been raising consistently with the Prime Minister since the last election. This is about 7 months ago. What I get is that it is being given consideration. And I find that quite distressing, maybe even a little insulting. And I really would want to urge the Prime Minister and our Cabinet to give these very critical issues the attention and the urgency that they deserve. I don't think that we as Tobagonians should accept any less. We have been very patient, and the Prime Minister has demonstrated by her action in this particular case that if the interest is there, the urgency will come. And therefore, it is extremely disheartening that this matter should be dragging on like that. Bear in mind that I have made 2 suggestions to the Prime Minister, which I hoped will have, even though not resolved, but at least alleviated the situation. I would have recommended to the Prime Minister shortly after the election that in light of the 12-0 configuration of the Assembly, that we should in fact approach the Parliament to have a motion or a bill passed that will allow for the President to appoint 2 councillors to the Assembly. That I've received no definite response on that. I also recommended to the Prime Minister that we should have a reconciliation commission comprising representation from the Tobago House of Assembly and the central government to look at the bills and all the supporting documents. And just as how the Dispute Resolution Commission was able to resolve the financial issues surrounding the relationship between the THA and the central government some years ago, hopefully it might have been able to find a solution. Again, I have received no response. And this is, it is disheartening, it is troubling, and I am urging the people of Tobago to observe and draw their own conclusions so that somewhere down the road we can take appropriate action. On a more positive note, Tobago House of Assembly has been involved over the last couple of months, couple of weeks, with the commissioning of a number of projects. Among them is the commissioning of the lighted playing fields. We started with at Mason Hall, about two Sundays ago. Then they were at Moriah the next Sunday. Sunday gone, they were at Mount Pleasant. Next Sunday, they'll be at Speyside. The Sunday after that at Codler Hall. And then subsequent to that, Plainfields will be lit at Lambeau, Signal Hill, and Montgomery. In other words, we'll be lighting 8 Plainfields in the space of 2 months. And there are 3 other Plainfields where the lights have been installed. That's at Mount Grace, Mount St. George, and Table Peace, where the lights have been installed, but we're waiting on the connection from TNTech. The objective is that by the end of this fiscal year, there'll be 23 lighted Plainfields in Tobago. And as I've said at the various lighting ceremonies, sometimes we in Tobago fail to appreciate the significance of what is happening around us. In an island of 60,000 people, we will have by the end of this fiscal year 23 lighted Plainfields. This is a ratio of 1 to less than 3,000. I doubt that this ratio is matched in very many other places in the world, definitely not in the region. It therefore places a responsibility on us as Tobagonians, both to manage and to maximize these facilities. And therefore, we are embarking on a process of involving the community groups, the football teams, etc., in the management of the facilities, so that they take ownership of the facilities, protect them, and of course, manage them and utilize them to the optimum. Community centers are also due to be opened at refurbished, a new one at Bethesda, a refurbished one at Codler Hall, and that of course is added to the new center at Betsy's Hope and the refurbished center at Mason that have already been delivered. There are other areas, and as the secretaries come, they will give you more information, like for example, the date for the opening of the Codler Hall Strip Mall is completed. It will soon be handed over by the Division of Infrastructure and Public Utilities to the Division of Finance and Enterprise Development, and I will expect that they will be able to tell you about the imminent opening. We do have the booths have already been allocated, and as soon as it is handed over, we should have activities at Signal Hill started. The Codler Hall Mall, a strip mall, is now in operation. I think there's significant activity there, and the tenants seem to be very, very appreciative of the situation. I just wish to, as I conclude, to indicate that the Secretary of Health and Social Services, who is also the leader of Assembly Business, is out of the island at this time in South Africa with the presiding officer attending a parliamentary conference. During that period, I am sitting in as the Secretary responsibility for Health and Social Services. And I just was given a piece of information here that the Society of Radiographers will be hosting its annual international conference in Tobago on the 5th and 6th of October, when the Society will be celebrating its 40th anniversary. The event is carded for Ravenel Resort, Bon Accord, Tobago, with an opening ceremony on the 5th of October 2013, starting time 8:30 a.m. And the details are available for members of the press.
Hi, Mr. London. I had some questions with respect to the TRHA board. Any updates?
Well, you know what the process is. The process is that it is sent to the the Minister of Health by the Secretary, so that it was approved by the Executive Council, that is the board, and the names were submitted to the Minister of Health, who was supposed to take it to the Cabinet. I did receive a correspondence from the Minister indicating that I should be liaising with the office of the Prime Minister. I'm not certain what that means, because I was under the impression that once it gets into a cabinet minister, it's to a cabinet minister, it will get into cabinet. So when the secretary comes back, I will ask her to liaise with the Minister of Health to find out what the situation is. But I have seen the correspondence from the secretary to the minister with the list of names that were approved by the Executive Council.
We know that there is only one inter-island ferry working at this time for the people of Tobago. Any recommendations to address this particular situation at this time?
Well, I did speak to Mr. Grant, and that is one of the challenges that we have. What he indicated to me is that the vessel which is now in operation, they will do additional sailings, as many as, if necessary, 3 sailings per day. Of course, you'll bear in mind that, in a way, we were fortunate, in inverted commas, in that the issue came at the end of the holiday period when the demand has started to slacken. So I think they will have to do the numbers to determine whether they would need to make any adjustments. Of course, you've got to bear in mind that when one looks at how the industry operates, it is well nigh impossible to get an additional ferry into service in the 12 or 13 days that this ferry would be out of service. It's a long, expensive, drawn-out process. Just getting the vessel here from wherever, if they're really able to source one, might take you more than 12 days. So I don't think that was an option. Of course, you'll always have the argument as to whether you should have a third ferry or not. But again, if you do that, you've got to work the numbers out, you've got to work the logistics, the finances, and so on. And obviously, if they don't work out, having a third ferry does not become an option. So it is one of those things. It's a mechanical issue. And I know that based on what I've got from Mr. Grant, the port is making an effort to treat with it. I am not aware that it has become a crisis, but I know that, well, let me put it differently. I recognize that there are some hardships, and I know that bookings have become very difficult for some people. But it is not as critical as it would have been if it had happened during the holidays. And the information that I got from the port is that they're doing everything possible with the limited resources that they now have available.
Thank you for staying with us for the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for the week ending September 7th, 2013.